Hey everyone, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and he is,
Chris.
and Chris he is, and he's got a hole in his shirt today. Um, but you didn't think I was going to bring that up, did you?
You can't see it. I think it's back
I think
here.
we just found what the episode's called.
There, oh, you can almost. No, you can't see. Anyway.
Yep. That's what this episode is going to be called. Episode whatever number. Chris has a hole in his shirt.
No shirt, no service.
Well, hey, you're wearing a shirt. It's just got a hole in it.
I could take off the sleeves anyway. Go ahead.
We're Amazing Fantasy Football, and we're here this week to talk about wide receivers 13 through 24 on how they finished the 2020 season. Of course, as always, we are using half PPR scoring format. And how you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good. Had some
other than
some running around shirt. Yeah, other than a hole in my shirt, had some great neighbors, and my family helped me with the driveway today, since we were doing some recording, and we got quite a bit of snow in the Midwest, for those who don't know. And but it's all good. I got the car out, got some groceries picked up.
We got quite a bit of snow in the Midwest last week.
Last week? Oh, yeah, right. Darn it. And other than that, yeah, ready to excited about this first guy we're talking about, but also some others. It's an interesting list, the second half of the top 24 wide receivers.
Yep. I think Chris and I just decided that we're going to do a stream during the Super Bowl.
Right.
We're gonna watch the Super Bowl, and we're going to stream it. Anyone that wants to watch the Super Bowl and join us are more than welcome. That will be on twitch.tv/Amazing Fantasy Football or whatever it is. Just go to Twitch and search for Amazing Fantasy Football. We're right there.
There you go.
And we'll just be having a kind of like a Twitch Super Bowl party sort of thing. I mean, you won't be able to watch the game on Twitch, obviously, for legal reasons.
Audio and obviously video will be.
You can certainly watch right along with us. There might be a little bit of a time delay because I just feel like my Hulu Live always runs about like a minute behind regular TV. So whatever.
I was just going to speak on that. I was like, for one thing, we obviously won't have the audio or video of the game for the viewers to be able to watch or hear, but you can hear our reactions, and we ourselves will have I'll have the game, in front of me, piped in some way. And what was that last thing you said? Oh yeah, delay. That could be a thing, but whatever. I think it'll still be a good time.
We'll have a good time.
Let's hope for a good game too,
We'll start at roughly, I don't know, whenever the Super Bowl starts, 5:15,
5:30
Central Standard Time.
Yeah, maybe a little pregame, anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour pregame. Get things lined up.
I don't know if I have that much drinking in me, but we'll see.
Well, that's the other thing, is we'll have to decide if we want to go the full game, which I guess why not. But then again, Super Bowl can be pretty long with halftime show and all that. I hadn't thought about that. Anyway,
do you know anything about The Weeknd? I have no idea who The Weeknd is.
Oh, is this a musical group?
It's a guy.
Oh, I saw some commercial for like Pepsi or something with a security guard singing, and this guy comes through the gate.
Yeah,
and he looks at him.
That was The Weeknd.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I
don't know who that is.
Me neither. I gotta say though, I really don't like Lady Gaga, but that was Super Bowl halftime show that she did.
She's one talented lady. Yeah, she's one talented lady.
Man, that was a really awesome Super Bowl show.
I like her.
And then like 3 or 4, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I guess by now. Kendrick Lamar did like the halftime show for the NFC and the NCAA championship or something. Dude, that halftime show made me a Kendrick Lamar fan.
Kendrick Lamar, okay, yeah. I mean, I know of the name,
like legit Kendrick Lamar fan. This guy right here.
Oh, really? Okay. And he's what is he? R&B, hip hop? I'm not sure.
Rap. He's a rapper.
He's straight up rap. Okay.
Yep.
Because there is a distinction there. I'm not that ignorant. I'm not that ignorant. I do understand.
I know you're not. I know you're not into the rap.
No, yeah, I'm not familiar with his face or his music, but I know of the name for sure. I'm past that point where I hope for folks that bands that I like playing in the Super Bowl halftime show. I got Prince, and I got as you said, Lady Gaga was pretty exciting, so that's fine. I think I'll probably just leave it at that. I just don't hold out hope for any rock or metal bands to have a chance, and that's fine.
No.
They're not targeting me, so that's cool.
I think they're targeting as big of an audience as they can.
Which includes young folks, and young folks like Lamar and this other guy that I forgot his name, The Weeknd. That sounds like an 80s band. Does that not sound like an 80s band name?
There's only 2 E's in the weekend as well. The third E isn't there.
Weekend? The weekend?
Yeah.
The weekend.
The weekend.
Oh,
The weekend.
this is left. Okay, I got you. The first two are
The
there, not the
weekend.
third one. Okay, the first two are together. Weekend.
No.
Whatever.
The weekend.
Anyway. Hey, we're AFFB. So.
We're going to be doing a stream during the Super Bowl, and we're going to learn all about the weekend. And maybe the weekend, like Kendrick Lamar, can make me a fan of his. I am not going to listen to any of the weekend before the weekend halftime show, but you know, we'll see how it goes, and whatever. So we got some receivers to talk about. We kind of cleaned up some shop.
Does that mean you're ready?
On to wide receiver number 13.
Sorry.
We got CeeDee Lamb here. CeeDee Lamb is one of 2 guys on this list. That play for the same team. This is Dallas Cowboys, of course. Why does it look like CeeDee Lamb's going to throw a touchdown pass right there?
It does, because he's multifaceted.
Yeah. So like him and Amari Cooper, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, they both had some problems, and that would be after Dak got hurt in week 5, and so they had some Andy Dalton and some Ben DiNucci. It's a me, DiNucci. Some problems in that respect. I'm not going to go through like week by week scoring here for CeeDee Lamb, but obviously after Dak got hurt, his scoring goes way down. But he did have some successful games with Andy Dalton. Same with Amari Cooper. Just spoiler alert. He had 110 targets. Not that some of them were from Andy Dalton, Ben DiNucci, so we'll just write those off. Mm-hmm. Did he hit 934 yards and 5 touchdowns for? The Cowboys lucked out getting CeeDee Lamb. I can't. They had other needs, but like Jerry said,
Raiders. Thank you, Gruden.
The Raiders, the Broncos, the Eagles, perhaps too, that passed on him. Like, I don't understand why these teams passed on CeeDee Lamb over some other guys. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever. He did have some special teams work, so 219 yards and a touchdown. That's cool. Ended up at 239 for his fantasy points. He did have 9 drops. 9 drops.
That's significant, yeah.
That is he is the guy with the second most drops on this list. I didn't write down everyone's how many drops everyone had,
ones because that stood out. Yeah.
The ones that really stood out. The ones that were like, I think above 5 or 6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think it was above 6 because there was like 80 people with 6 drops. And I don't know, man. I think the sky's the limit for CeeDee Lamb with a full season of Dak. Like, I don't know if I'm going to go quite number 1 overall receiver. But I know. Just go ahead and say it. Just say it.
A couple of things I wanted to touch on real quick. Let me pull the slide up again just for a moment because I wanted to point out, as you did, the 219 return yards and a touchdown. You combine that 219 return yards with the 82 rushing yards. I mean, that's 30 fantasy points right there. That's significant. So that's just worth mentioning. He's kind of found a way to get some more touches. It's important for the offense, and I completely agree with you that when you bring him, when you have a healthy Dak there, the sky's the limit. He could be a huge value next season. Now, I think he will have hype on him, but I think it's a value in terms of like a 2nd or 3rd round pick that might be able to finish as the number 1 wide receiver. Like, I think he's that type of talent, and it's that type of offense. Again, got to come back to the health of the quarterback because, like most franchises, their number 1 goes down. There's not a whole lot behind him. Now, granted,
there's usually a reason why the number 2 quarterback is the number 2 quarterback.
Exactly. Dalton showed some things, but I don't. It's night and day. I think we can agree on that. We talked about the fantasy regression when Dalton first came in, and then of course Dalton got hurt. So the DiNucci and that whole conglomerate really hurt the value of these guys. But they eventually recovered.
Dalton got the COVID knocked into him.
Yes, the COVID knocked in. I forgot about that episode. And that will forever be in the annals of amazing fantasy football history. By the way. Nothing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all I had to say on CD was just that. I think he could finish as the wide receiver one. So to get a guy like that in the second round, that's amazing value. So that's what I mean when I say value. I don't mean like he's going to be this steal in the fourth or something. Let me be clear.
I did write it down. So I wrote it down in weeks 15 and 16. CD had, which was with Andy Dalton. Both of those games against San Francisco and Philadelphia, but both those games he scored over 22 points. So, like I said, he did do it with Andy Dalton.
Kind of at the end of the year there, recovered a bit.
Yeah, and that could have just been like after a while, the Andy Dalton started meshing with the wide receivers.
Yeah, because they hadn't really played together because he got hurt. Yeah,
exactly. A limited off season. Dalton being the number 2 guy, and he missed a couple of games actually.
Well, I'd hope to see a more reliable number 2 out of Dalton this year. Absolutely. Now I hope we don't have to see it. Right, but
Dalton's not under contract for the Cowboys this season.
My mistake. Yeah, I'm not up on my contract stuff. Obviously, I've shown through the 2 episodes. But
no, that's okay.
I'll get there.
I do want to say that CD had almost 16 points per game with Dak versus just over 11 with Andy Dalton. So obviously there's going to be a little disparity there, but I mean, I think it might have ended up a little bit different had Dak like injured himself preseason, and we would have gotten a full season of Andy Dalton.
Absolutely.
Like I think there could have been, there could have been CD and both Amari Cooper could have ended up higher on this list. So
I completely.
And again, it could have been a ripple effect, and like the world could have exploded. So and then no one would have been on this list because we wouldn't have had a list, and the world would have ended. One of those things.
Agreed. And speaking of Amari, real quick, volume has to be mentioned. I'm just saying opportunity needs to be mentioned with CD. So there's still a lot of mouths to feed, but I think the offense is elite enough where it's kind of the situation where all boats rise with the tide. That the presence of a healthy Blake Jarwin. You got to remember we didn't have him for the entire season, along with of course the healthy starting quarterback. Another year under the belt with CD. Amari, I don't think is going anywhere, so we'll have to see. And of course, Gallup has been making plays, and he recovered a little bit at the end of the year too to play well with the backup quarterback Dalton. So it's just it's a lot of mouths to feed. Keep that in mind.
I feel like Dalton's going to end up being the odd man out, or not Dalton.
Gallup.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, probably because of contract.
Gallup is going to end up being. What does he have? One more left in his rookie deal.
That sounds right. That feels right.
Unless he's going to take
this was his 3rd year coming into his 4th.
Unless he's going to take a below market deal to stay with the Cowboys. I don't really see him sticking around with the boys. So let's move on to number 14.
Unless they find something to do with Amari and he's gone, that changes things. But I don't think that's happening.
I don't think so either. I think I think they gave Amari that money, and I don't think that Gallup has shown that he is as good or better than Amari. So why give him a truckload of money when you already have a truckload of money in Amari?
Agreed.
So and we'll talk more about Mr. Cooper here in just a minute. Let's move on to number 14, which is of course Bobby Woods or Robert Woods. Doesn't Bobby Woods kind of sound like not a football player, but like
a Hollywood actor,
like a golfer? Or
I like that. I'll go golfer.
Or maybe a basketball player. Bobby Woods.
I like golfer or Hollywood actor. Like a 70s Hollywood actor. Bobby Woods, starring in the greatest car chase you've ever seen. Yeah,
he's got like a big old mustache, like Giovanni Bernard.
Bobby Woods sounds like Steve McQueen. That's what it sounds like to me. But also the golfer. The golfer is pretty good too. Bobby Woods,
a 70s golfer with a big Giovanni Bernard mustache. There we go. Boom.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
All right. So like I said, Robert Woods, he's number 14 on the list. He had his ups and downs because Jared Goff was his quarterback, and the Rams are really, I think the Rams just kind of struggled all season long to really, except for towards the end, to really kind of find their true identity. And even then, I'm not sure if they really found it. But as we said last week, and Chris earlier spoiled it, that we're recording these episodes back to back. As of right now, it's still Stafford, being traded to the Rams. So that would be Matthew Stafford, the Lions quarterback. So I think that Robert Woods had certainly, he's gonna. I mean, I feel like this is injury aside, this is kind of his floor right here with Stafford. You know.
Oh, for sure. Yep. Yep. Floor. I think that's a great way to put it. Actually, sitting here looking at the stats that we've got up on the slide,
129 targets. I don't know
that
if
that 936 yards is gonna go up. I can guarantee it. I would probably bet that those 6 touchdowns is going to go up. I have no problem with 129 targets because he's got a share with Kupp. But I'm excited about this offense. I'm excited.
Well, you get Van Jefferson too, who the Rams took last year being
the number 3
in the 2020 draft. Yeah, I mean it's yet to see if
and he
Van
made
Jefferson
some plays
is going to
this
really
year,
step it up.
He made some plays.
He had a couple. Yeah, he was kind of a non-contributing factor for the most part. Okay. But I mean, part of Robert Woods too is that, like, as you can see here on the slide, that he had 24 rushing attempts for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, this is a thing that Woods can do too. It's also part of that Sean McVay kind of whole misdirection offense as well.
Well said. Yep.
You know, I don't know if that's really that much is going to really change with Stafford being the quarterback there, assuming that information is completely correct, in which case we're going to have to just record a redaction episode and just kind of blow this episode up out of the water. And
I think technically it's, I don't know. Last I read, it was all but done. We'll put it that way.
I don't think it can actually be finalized until next month. So, you know,
because of the Super Bowl, February, etc., the calendar year, really or should I say the league calendar year?
That works out. I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
I mean, all I got left here is that he had 6 games under 10 points, and he did have 6 games that were 10 to 15 points. So it was kind of like, you know, he didn't
light the world on fire.
No, not exactly. I mean, like, that's 12 games under 15 points.
He was better in 2019. Was 2019 the year they both had a great year, or was that 2018? I think that might have been 2018, actually. But I digress.
That was 2019. Woods had a decent season, but he only had like 1 or 2 touchdowns, which is kind of been Robert Woods' entire career. Like, I think the 6 touchdowns is either tied with his.
It was the Gurley year. It was the 2018 year. Yeah.
Okay. And that 6 touchdowns is, and I think that maybe it's a Goff thing, and like, who knows, a different quarterback, especially. I mean, I really like Matthew Stafford. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's a very, very good quarterback, and he is, who knows what he's going to bring to the Rams.
I'm excited. Yeah.
It's like I said before, Robert Woods, number 14. That's going
to go up.
Now,
you want to talk about a value? This is probably
either he finishes somewhere between 13 and 16 or above. You know,
I think
just
I'm
just depends
on
what the other. I mean, it just depends on what the other receivers do in front of him. You know, like,
of course, yeah.
It could just be a big wide receiver year this in 2021. You know,
I think he could be a great value. I think McVay is the type of coach that coaches to his personnel, and I think his personnel at quarterback this season was not reliable. And there was an injury game. I think he missed a game or so. I remember there being a starter in the playoff game. Yeah. Didn't they win despite Goff being out? Or did he end up starting at the last minute? Anyway, the point is that
I don't remember.
He coaches to his personnel, and because his quarterback was unreliable, he no longer had an elite back in Gurley and a borderline elite offensive line. They had taken some hits there, that he got more conservative. So I think with Stafford at the helm, and hopefully he can get something out of one of those 2 backs, this will be a good team. Great team, should I say. So I'm excited about Robert Woods' finish next year. I think it'll be definitely above 14. I think it'll be more like a wide receiver 1, low-end wide receiver 1.
Okay. So because we're not going to get to him, do you know where Cooper Kupp finished as far as wide receiver rank?
I would assume just outside the top 24, like 27.
You're very, very close. He was 26.
Okay, good.
That was a really good guess, dude. Really good.
Yeah, and it was a guess. It was a legit guess. But, just look at the guys I had in the 24. I could kind of get that feel, because we're going to have 3 guys in a row here in a little bit that, have something in common. Let's just put it that way. So,
they're related?
No, well, they play for the same team at the same position. But so a guy like Kupp, it doesn't surprise me that he just got eked out a little bit of the of the top 24.
Yeah, it was a down season for Kupp. So let's move on to number 15 here. Number 15 is number 4 in Chris's heart, and that is Keenan Allen.
Great pick.
I just made that number up, but
right.
Keenan Allen, man, this guy was a target monster for Justin Herbert. And have they announced or is that tonight?
I think it's the NFL award. Sounds like it would be tonight, the weekend before, because isn't the Super Bowl next weekend? Yeah, that's
147 targets. 147 targets. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Not a good catch rate, but hey, what are you gonna do?
You know what that averages out to?
What?
Because Keenan Allen missed week 16 and 17, so I'm taking those out. It is 10.69 points per game, or targets per game. Yeah, so we'll just call it 10 and a half. 10 and a half targets per game with a guy that's like, I know Keenan Allen does not have elite speed. I know that.
Right.
He's very good. He's very good at route running and catch and
separation,
contested catches, and creating separation just by routes run and body control and all that.
Agreed.
So you give me that, and I can easily see that 992 getting closer to 1100 next year.
Mm-hmm. And that catch rate getting into the 70s instead.
Yes. I mean, there were times that Keenan Allen was getting like 14, 15 targets from, I keep wanting to call him Joe Burrow. I know it's Justin Herbert. I don't know what is wrong with my brain today. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Keenan Allen only had 3 games with Justin Herbert, because there's also a game with Turd Taylor, under 10 points. So that's really good. Three games under 10 points. That's not bad. And had he played all 16 games, these points would actually, if he'd played those last 2 weeks, all these totals would have jumped up by at least one.
Yeah, and the first week could have been with Herbie.
Yeah, give him another.
That's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's finished at 15, below 1,000 yards.
I mean, I really like Keenan Allen because I really like Justin Herbert. I don't know what the Chargers do with Mike Williams next year. They definitely, that wide receiver 3 that they had on their depth chart, for the life of me, it's like something Johnson. Kind of came on with Herbert too. Okay. So honestly, if the Chargers had cap room and everything, they could maybe make a stab at an Allen Robinson, like we were talking about last episode. Get rid of Mike Williams and have a legit downfield threat with Allen Robinson. I don't know, man.
I don't like the hit Keenan Allen would take there, but in real life football, I love the combination. But in fantasy, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to take back that wide receiver 1 thing I said about Keenan. But
for sure.
I mean, we both love the guy. He was 5th in targets in the league, 147, as you mentioned. I touched on catch rate already. It finished at 68%. I think we see that going up with a second-year Herbert. That's really kind of where my analysis ends there. But I'm excited about that. Herbert taking another step and Keenan Allen breaking into the top 12. And I think the guys that we've talked about before Keenan Allen, there's more hype. You got the young Jefferson. You've got I'm big on CD.
A young CD Lamb.
Exactly.
You got Robert Woods getting Matt Stafford.
I just told you how much I love Woods. So I'm playing into some of the hype. But yeah, so I think these guys will raise in ADP a little, and it'll push Keenan Allen down a little. And I think I'm really loving that, especially in a full PPR.
Yeah. Let's move on to number 16 here and number 16 is Brandon Cooks. I'm not going to lie. I think some of this is partly because of Will Fuller missing the last 5 weeks.
Absolutely.
Part of it is. But I mean, Brandon Cooks in his own right, I think this is his 5th or 6th year with 1,000 yards and on his 4th team. Yeah, 4th team. So in those last 5 or 6 years, he's been on 4 different teams and always hit 1,000 yards.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, like
I think he is a
there's
guy that
gonna
goes underappreciated. I
it's
absolutely.
it's going to be a bumpy road with Brandon Cooks, you know, like
Mhm.
it's not going to be, I mean, as the 81 receptions right there with 1150 for yards.
That's a great finish. But again, no Fuller.
No Fuller. Who the heck knows what's going on with Deshaun Watson and that tire fire that's going on
Yeah, yeah. This in terms of
in
where,
Houston right there.
yeah, there's a very good likelihood he won't be on this list next year. I'm not saying anything against the guy. I
Hard
think
to
he is
say.
underappreciated, and I think he's an important piece in a real life NFL offense and can produce fantasy relevancy. But yeah, it's a lot of question marks. Ton.
Actually, I mean, I sort of said that, but I mean, I also have written down my notes here that he didn't really take off that much with Will Fuller gone. Um,
So he remained more
if
consistent,
everything,
is your point, throughout the injury and the
yeah, it wasn't, yeah, like you
Mhm.
would have thought that it would have been like, oh, Will Fuller gone, Brandon Cooks, boom. Not really. Um, he had
Cutie sure had some blow up games.
one and then kind of another one, but that was about it.
Okay.
It was just like, and Brandon Cooks wasn't terrible while Fuller was out, but it wasn't like, oh, Fuller gone, 20-point games, 20-point game, 20,
Hmm.
like
A lot of
it's
speed
not
out
exactly
there.
how it works.
That's for sure. A lot of
Yeah.
speed.
I don't know if everything stays exactly the same. The Texans somehow put out the fire with Deshaun Watson and re-sign Will Fuller and everything. I mean, I can see Brandon Cooks hitting right around where he is right now. You know, like how he finished this year as number 16, maybe number somewhere between 16 and 20. You know, maybe a little higher, maybe down to that like that wide receiver 20 overall on the season.
Low
You
end
know,
two.
like
Yeah.
yeah, and
Mid
you're
to low
gonna
end
take
two.
some like a lot of these guys that are left on this list, you're gonna take some lumps with them
Oh yeah.
because it's
Oh
not
yeah.
it's gonna be good game, bad game, bad game, good game, good game, bad game, bad game, bad game, good game, good. You know, like it's gonna be peaks and valleys. You're not gonna most of them. You're not gonna
Hmm.
have a lot of mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's just
This is based on Watson being there, though, right? So
exactly. Like I
that's a
said, if
big.
everything stays, if everything is exactly as they are right now, this is about where he's going to end up again. You know, because Will Fuller, I mean,
Because your point earlier about the 1,000 yards is he tends to always kind of end up here,
yeah, he
16
gets
to
his 1,000
16 to
yards.
20, and a couple big blow up games, and there we are.
Hooker by Cook. This guy's getting 1,000 yards. If he has to, you know, Tanya Harding someone, he will. My God, he's going to.
Yeah,
If he's
if
got to
he,
slip a little Mickey to
I
Will
was
Fuller to
just
get his
gonna
1,000
say
yards,
that.
he's gonna get
Dang
his 1,000
yo,
yards.
Brandon Cooks. Oh, that's crazy. We have no inside information on any foul play. We are just
This is
making jokes.
we are just making jokes, and I'm sorry to make a Tanya Harding joke. I know it's you know,
sensitive
maybe not
sensitive subject nowadays, huh?
a sensitive
Sorry, I
subject for
should be
something that
quiet.
happened almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, 30 years. Oh man, I'm so old. I'm so old.
Me too.
All right. So anyway, next player.
Was it 30 years ago or was it like 25?
I don't know. You might have over exaggerated, but you were in the
I don't know,
ballpark.
man. It wasn't that far. It wasn't like it was like the early 90s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was no
Yeah.
later than mid 90s, I don't believe.
It would have been like the
92. No, I'm just kidding.
90
I have no idea.
I think it was like the 94 Winter Olympics. So I'm not far off. Anyways.
Oh, right. It was. Okay, good call. Yeah,
Yeah,
next guy.
it was good enough for Weird Al to write a verse about it in a song, and you know, it was just late enough that I would have been what, like 10 then. You know, so I
Weird
still have
times.
memories of it. I mean, just the very fact that someone would have their bodyguard, which you're an Olympic skater. Do you really need a bodyguard? I mean, obviously
Apparently
Nancy
so.
Kerrigan, but I mean, you know, like Tanya
I bet they
Harding,
all
come
have them
on.
now. Nicknamed the Hardy Patrol. No, I'm just
Uh,
okay. Harding Patrol.
okay,
Okay, let's go
we're
on.
salt. Let's move on to number 17 on the list and number 5 in your heart.
Oh yeah,
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
You know what? You know, like let me just start off by saying that, like, I guess I'm on Amari Cooper now. Like, I really, I hate to admit this, but I guess it was wrong about him, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to be 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, a quick side note here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, right?
Sure.
And like people are like, "Oh, do you believe this?" And I hear this phrase a lot, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%." And they'll say it like that, 100%. And I'm like,
Oh, like over exaggerate like that on that syllable.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, and there's a commercial with Troy Polamalu and Patrick Mahomes that are like, they say 100%, like, I don't know, at least 20 times in that commercial. Like if you made a drinking game out of them saying 100%, in that commercial, you'd
You'd
be
be
trashed
hammered.
by the end of it. Yeah, you'd be hammered by the end of that like minute commercial. Anyways, I'm sorry. It just like
So get ready for the Super Bowl
I've been
commercials.
noticing it being
Yay.
said a lot, and then people say it like at work too.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
kind
like,
of
"Oh
a
yeah,
saying.
for
It's
sure,
kind of a thing, yeah.
100%." I'm like, okay, well, I guess 75% for me, but whatever.
No room for error. 100%.
Yeah. Anyways, so 130 targets, 92 receptions, 1,114 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, considering he spent, roughly a third of the season with backup quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you finish like CeeDee Lamb. He finishes at 13 with, backup quarterbacks. Amari Cooper has 17. You take out CeeDee's special teams and rushing, and you more or less, I don't remember what his total points were, but you more or less have Amari Cooper here. So
yeah, they'll be closer in finish for sure.
You get a full season of Dak, and maybe fiddlesticks, what's his name? The other guy,
Gallup, the receiver.
Yes, Michael Gallup. The redheaded stepchild. Like I think he could end up being like in this top 24 next year.
Absolutely.
Along with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
It could happen. It could happen for sure.
It easily could.
Yeah, Amari Cooper finds a way to make himself a value not only to your fantasy roster, but you got to remember his real life impact. If you go back, is it 2 years now, when the Cowboys got rid of Dez and tried to go with the number one receiver by committee, and you had like Allen Hurns. No offense, because he ended up breaking his leg. But anyway,
hey, can you throw that slide back up real quick while you talk?
Sure. Sorry, but anyway, the he was so valuable to Dak. We were questioning at one time who was a better quarterback, Carson Wentz or Dak, and I'm not going to harp on that as a Cowboys fan. I'm just making a point that Dak has shown that he's the straw that stirs the drink. And when the Cowboys get him back healthy, we're talking about the fantasy impact here. We're talking about Amari going up, CD going up, Gallup creeping into the wide receiver 2, top 24. I think that's exactly what you have to look at here. I think Amari brings a real life NFL value to the offense that helps Dak out. And then I touched on Jarwin earlier with I'm not Gallup, I'm sorry, with a CD when we talked about him earlier. I think a healthy Jarwin. You got to remember there was a whole season without him. So I don't see how anybody else could look at it other than the arrow pointing up for the offense. Aside from addressing, obviously, the elephant in the room, the offensive line. That's where I'm at. Sorry.
I think the offensive line is going to be okay. Moving forward, they just had some injuries this year. I'm sure that I think last year in the draft they kind of wanted to address that, and definitely the defense. But CeeDee Lamb kind of like rolled around, and they're like,
I mean, we'll just outscore everybody. And then Dak happened. I get it. And then, week 5 or whatever happened.
I mean, the Colts almost made it to at least 2 Super Bowls by outscoring people. So,
that's what I'm getting at.
Bad defense, just
we're not
offense.
Yeah, we're not claiming this is playoff Super Bowl winning formula of football necessarily. We're just saying fantasy wise, they would have been throwing it all around the yard. And they could have gotten somewhere with it, at least fantasy terms. And
Yep, it would have just been like, well, try and catch up.
Exactly. I think the last thing I was going to say,
probably lost a few games because they just defenses clapped down.
You touched on it, yeah. The defense, exactly. That could be a bad and a good thing, because remember, a bad defense could beget a lot of volume for the offense, but it also usually begets less scoring opportunities. I'm not Mr. Statistical expert, but it's good to keep an eye on stuff like that this offseason.
Wait, you're not?
No, I don't claim to be. So, this offseason when we see them, I don't know, draft a cornerback or sign a big name defensive end or something. Maybe what's his name, DeMarcus Lawrence shows back up. That's been kind of a bad thing since that big contract. So we'll see. But as of now, they're an awful defense. So expect them to have to throw.
Yeah. Yep. Let's move on to. Oh, and to just kind of, we're both on the same page that Dak comes back next year, and I don't know if both CD and Amari get into like top 12 next year, but one of them is probably going to.
Oh, I think you can bet on at least one of them, sure. Yeah.
And the only way that neither one of them do is that Michael Gallup makes his way into they all end up like 13 through 17, all three of them.
It'd be a difficult statistical percentage for that to pull off, but you're right. It could kind of,
and then you just have,
and then to answer the proverbial question of which one do you take, I'm going to take the no-brainer and just say the most valuable one, the one cheapest, maybe Gallup.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless CD, I'm a big CD fan, so it's going to be tough for me to leave him alone.
It kind of just depends on how the draft rolls too. I mean, that's just, you can give out draft advice all you want, but it's like the old military adage of, even like a boxing term is just like, you can make all the plans you want and make all the strategy you want, but once the first shot's fired, it all goes
out the window.
It all goes to hell.
Exactly.
To put it into like a PG-13 version of it.
Agreed.
Let's move on to number 18 here. And number 18 is Marvin Jones, number 6 in Chris's heart.
Lies.
I just, and even Marvin Jones is kind of giving that look in that picture like, what?
He sure is.
This is a guy that he's constantly underrated, as you can see by the ADP of 103. That's
why he's making that face.
Then he has to use the restroom. He had 115 targets, which is good. 76 receptions, 978 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That's a very Marvin Jones-esque stat line right there.
Mm-hmm.
He is getting into, I think he's about to turn to age 32 at some point within the next 6 to 9 months.
He's still fast.
So he's still fast. He's just getting up there in age.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if his route running has quite the refinement, so that once he starts losing his speed, he's going to still be valuable.
If he's going to stick around with the team, I don't know either. That's a good question.
And he's not under contract right now. After once his season is officially over, he is no longer under contract with the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Given Jared Goff's sometimes inability to throw the ball downfield well, I don't know if that's going to be a really good fit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And this line, like we said in last episode, this Lions offense is going to look completely. I think it's going to look completely different next year.
I would be willing to bet that I'm not saying it was a package deal, and I'm not saying Jones is number one, because he's not. But I imagine when Stafford decided he wanted out of there, and remember, we've speculated about Golladay not playing several games this season because why? They're not competing for anything, and he was going to leave anyway. I think all these guys that have played together, especially these offensive weapons that have played together, the skill positions, are like, you know what, man? Yeah, you do you, Matthew Stafford. I think I'm going to peace out too, because it's hard to play.
I think this is part of the reason why Stafford wanted out too. Is like, I have no weapons under contract.
Yeah, and Jones is about to leave. Yeah, it could have worked the other way. One domino could have fell before the other.
If you're Stafford, you go to the front office and be like, look, I'm not quite 33 yet, but I will be very soon. I have at least 4 or 5 years left in me of good, solid production.
Yeah, I know. I think
you can get a haul. You could get a haul for me of a team that's in win now mode. Like,
you can get a haul. Rams. Yeah, you're losing Jones.
And they did.
You're going to lose weapons. You're going to lose games because, as we said, Galladay's gone, Jones is gone.
The only problem with this, as if you live in Detroit and you're a Lions fan, is that this team's inability to put together any sort of like actual NFL team, from the ground up,
or a DeAndre Swift dynasty manager. Yeah, that value's going down. What's that?
I think I'm that person.
Are
No,
you really?
that was on the other team.
Okay, cool.
I think that was the other team.
I didn't even remember that when I brought that up just now. It's a valid point though. Like his value is, but we're talking receivers.
Yeah,
today.
it's in the toilet. Unless they're gonna draft a thumper of a running back for short yardage situation, and they're gonna really sink draft assets into offensive line. I don't really know I don't know if there's going to be, as of right now.
There's no passing attack to take pressure off the run game. It's just.
Yeah, there's. I don't know if
there's
I want
Hawkinson.
any Lions.
There's Hawkinson, but Jared
No,
Goff.
but I don't know if I want any Lions player
That's what I'm
at
getting
the moment.
at. Yeah, it's just
the state of the team right now. I don't know if I want any of them.
The two good young players we like will be Hawkinson and Swift, and their value's taken a huge hit because of Goff's presence and the lack of Golladay, Jones, and so on and so forth. So
yeah,
it's not pretty.
It's a real bummer.
Pretty. Yeah, this guy. That's why
too.
I wanted to harp on Marvin Jones probably not being on this list next year.
I really doubt it.
If somebody picks him up, if a good offense needs a 2, picks him up, and he's in a good situation where his skill set fits, absolutely. I eat crow, but I worry.
Yeah, maybe Marvin Jones goes back to the Bengals.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. I felt like he's been a Lion so long. Like you said,
he has 32. been. Like right after his rookie contract ended, he went to the Lions.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He was the one that flipped into the end zone, right? You remember that?
I have no idea.
Play? No, that might have been a different one. I'll look it up some other time.
Anyways, let's move on to number. You know what? Let's just group.
I was going to say it. Let's just let's knock them all out. That'll actually help the show time a little.
Let's why don't you hit number 19 real quick, and I'll talk about Deontay Johnson real quick. We're going to do 19, 20, and 21 real quick because they happen to be Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Chase Claypool. Let's hit Deontay Johnson real quick. Go back.
No problem. I'm coming right back. I just wanted a quick little peeker.
Yep. 144 targets, man. Like Ben Roethlisberger was really looking at Deontay Johnson. He ended up with 88 receptions. That is a really bad catch percentage. You know why it's a really bad catch percentage? Because he also led the league with 10 drops.
Yep. He really had
and like we said last episode,
slump.
when the NFL counts it as a drop, like you have to like really like it's obvious, like the quarterback threw you the ball, it was right at you, and then you just swat it in the ground. Like drop. Yeah. Like it's just
that 10 number doesn't include near misses.
There could have been like it could have been more like 15, but they just counted it as 10. So I mean,
I'd like to think he gets it
Johnson,
under control.
Like the sky's the limit for this guy. This is what his third. This was his third season.
This will be his third. I thought this was his second.
Okay, so there's room for growth there, and that could easily be a thing. My only problem with Deontay Johnson is that Ben Roethlisberger looked like his arm was maybe a little cooked.
Yeah, I'm worried about how good he's going to be moving forward.
And maybe it just could have been coming off that Tommy John surgery and everything, and his elbow was still not quite right and everything. Because I mean, like baseball players, like pitchers, when they get Tommy John surgery, like there were kids that were electively having it at like 17 or 18.
I know. So
because there's
lengthen their career.
It's a mindset that you actually throw harder after the Tommy John surgery.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And for baseball, it takes almost a year and a half to 2 years to recover from it.
Yeah.
So
is that what Big Ben had?
Yeah. He was one of the first like really big name NFL quarterbacks to really have it, I believe.
And he's been it's his throwing elbow, right? So he's been plagued by that. Yeah,
it's in his right. It was in his right arm. Yes,
he's had this elbow thing for a while. I feel like
so. There's a thing that he comes back next year and he actually has
better
full arm strength or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say that a 38-year-old, I don't know. After watching Drew Brees, yes, Drew Brees is older than Big Ben and everything, but Drew Brees does not look like he
used to. Yeah, I
should be playing anymore.
I think we can both.
But then you
agree.
look at Tom Brady in that same NFC Championship game, and Brady's just throwing it wherever. Can't quite hit the deep ball like he used to be able to, but he was never John Elway anyway. So
and he was never Mr. Quick Release either. Like he's always had a bit of an elongated thing, but
Yeah,
his
and
pocket presence is
especially for a deep ball, he's got to wind it up.
He sure does. But his pocket presence is so good he can get away with it usually. But no, going back to Big Ben, I think me and you are both in the camp that nowadays quarterbacks can play
over to Juju real quick.
Sure thing. That quarterbacks can play into their 40s, but depending on the trajectory of their career, I mean, Big Ben's a big guy. He's taken a lot of damage on that frame because he stays in the pocket so long, and he's been through some lean years at offensive line. You know, they're pretty good now, but so yeah, he wasn't what he was this past year, but I don't think they're ready to move on, and I think if he can come back just a bit better, I think, yeah, you see Deontay Johnson probably be the guy out of these three. But let's touch on Juju a little bit also.
Juju also not under contract next year for 2021 with the Steelers. So he might be a restricted free agent. I don't remember, to be honest.
Right.
But as you can see here, Juju, he's got a much better catch rate. He also was, I think, running slightly shorter routes too, so that can usually help with that.
Oh yeah,
catch percentage. A couple more touchdowns. Like, these guys are back to back for a reason. Why don't you flip over to Chase Claypool here for a second? Because I really want to talk about Claypool here for a second. 109 yards, 62 receptions. That might be some of the rookie in him. Some of it just long throws that Big Ben couldn't make very well.
Contested catches, 50-50s.
Yep. I put his ADP as undrafted because it was at like one. I actually couldn't find it.
Yeah, what a gem.
So, but he wasn't really a gem though. So this is why I wanted to talk about it.
Sure seemed like at first. Let's put it that way.
1/5 of his points, 1/5, so 20%, were his 4 touchdown game in week 5. 20% of them. He failed to hit 10 points in 8 games. So half the season he didn't hit 10 points. So I mean, you take away that 50-point game, which I don't like doing, but now you're down to 133, and you divide 133 by 15. You know, like, that's not a lot of points. 4 or 5, I think. I think I wrote down 4, but it might have been 5.
I don't remember. But it was around half of his touchdowns. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. So it's. I mean, I think Chase Claypool has a lot of talent and everything, but maybe if Juju's not there next year, then Chase Claypool is going to have a little bit more opportunities to run some routes and everything and whatnot. I think he has a really bright future. I really do. I don't know. Obviously he's going to get drafted next year, but he's not going to be going, in before round 5 for sure. He's not going to be going probably before
Claypool?
round 7. Yeah.
Claypool? I'd probably agree.
Not if Juju's still there.
Agreed. I'd probably 5-7. Yeah, not before that. I don't think.
What else do you have to say about
just on these guys in general? You touched on the targets. Deontay led them with 144. Here's kind of interesting. They kind of hit each level of efficiency in terms of yards per reception. So you have 10.5 per reception for Deontay. That's fine. He was kind of the target monster. I don't want to say possession because I think he's got speed, but yeah, 10.5 for him. Claypool leads them with 14.1. That's 26th in the league. That's pretty respectable that's a big play receiver. However, as you just touched on, a lot of that came in one game, so however you want to take that. And then, of course, Juju, he's getting a ton of looks, but he's also only averaging 8.6. That's 126th in the league. 8.5 per reception. You got to, if you're going to take Juju, you got to understand you're not going to get that. You're going to get catches. And you're going to get a lot of catches, and I also have written down here that, I mean, Juju didn't even have a 100-yard game this year.
Claypool had at least 2. I don't remember. I didn't write down how many Deontay he had. I'm sorry.
I think Juju's value goes up in a full PPR, so that's worth.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have Deontay Johnson down that he only averaged 61.53 yards per game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Not a lot of yardage from Ben. Not a lot of yardage from this offense.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have much else to say about any of these guys.
I just think that Claypool game that they they saw an exploitation in the coverage in the personnel of the defense, and they
It just
exploited
happened. It
Yep.
just clicked.
And
It clicked,
hey,
and
give him,
they didn't.
as you like to say, don't take credit away from the guy, but you also have to mention that when you talk about that finish.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't have much else to say about these guys here. I don't know.
I'm good.
I don't. I guess I don't see the Steelers trading for Deshaun Watson either. They're kind of strapped for cap room as it is.
They're also they're more of a homegrown team. They like to cultivate this wide receiver talent.
For sure.
Really, running back, same story. They'll get value in a middle round running back. So no, I don't think they go and get a guy like an Allen Robinson or a this or that. I think they're solid with what they've got, and I think I don't know if I made it clear from my point of view. I think Deontay is the guy you want. I think he's the better talented player. I wavered when Claypool blew up, to be frank, and Deontay, and then especially Deontay having the dropsies later in the season. But I think I'm going to stick to my guns that I think Deontay is the one I want. So I'll leave it at that for now.
So do you want Deontay Johnson as your wide receiver 2 next year, though?
I think so. Yeah. I don't want to. I'd like him to come to me, so to speak, the value to fall to me at the right spot. I'd like to get value out of because he'll probably be suppressed because of the drops and the mouths to feed in Pittsburgh. But I think he can get good value, and yes, I think he can finish as at least middle. Probably around the middle of the wide receiver 2, if I could talk.
So about where he's at right now.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit higher.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Let's move on to so that was just to be clear for those who are listening via podcast. That was Deontay Johnson was 19. Juju was our wide receiver 20.
My apologies.
And number 21 was Chase Claypool. Bing bang boom. Wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. On to the Terry McLaurin sandwich. It's going to be a sandwich because you'll find out here in a second. But Terry McLaurin is our number 22 guy. This is coming in very pixelated on my end, which is okay. Better now.
Okay.
Probably just my free internet. Terry McLaurin dealt with a slew of different quarterbacks this season.
Sandwich, I get it.
Still hit 1,100 yards. Only had 87 receptions. Him being a possession guy isn't quite his game at the moment, but it certainly maybe could be at some point in the future. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to watch some Terry McLaurin game film this offseason, and I know he's good. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've seen the 4 touchdowns is probably a product of subpar quarterback play.
I'm disappointed that Alex Smith didn't.
But I really want to just see his route running and what types of routes he's running and all of that. Just to kind of, can this guy do more, or is he just a fast guy going down the field, sort of, running deep posts or deep crossovers, just a deep
limited route tree, wins with speed type of guy. I think he's got more than that in him for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would love to see who his quarterback's going to be next year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
I really doubt it's going to be Alex Smith. Other than Stafford already moved and Deshaun Watson wanting to leave, I just don't know what quarterbacks are leaving their teams for there to be a giant quarterback shuffle this year that end up with, Washington getting a veteran quarterback that's any goodness. Blah blah blah.
Well done.
My brain totally fell apart on me there. I just don't see Washington getting a quality veteran quarterback via free agency this offseason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of touch on the same stuff in my notes. I said I love Alex Smith and Ron Rivera, but I'd love to see another signal caller in Washington next year. I don't know where they find it.
Honestly, who would it be? Maybe the Niners cut Jimmy G.
Maybe one of the worst, higher draft pick teams takes a rookie and a Teddy Bridgewater falls, hits free agency. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but you could see his value go up. You could see McLaurin's value go up with at least, like you said, serviceable. I think we can agree Teddy's serviceable, but not much more. I don't know. Maybe Breeze
ends up there.
Maybe Breeze hangs on for another year with another team in division.
No, I don't. I really doubt.
I agree. I'm throwing out hypotheticals. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know of a good backup that's like hitting the market that everybody kind of wants
Andy
to make
Dalton,
a starter.
that's the only one.
Yeah. If he gets an opportunity, I could see that one in division. Oh, well, obviously Dalton was only a Cowboy for a year, but still a piece moving within division. Maybe he becomes a starter in Washington. I would see McLaurin's value go up with Dalton. I'll be bold enough to say that.
Not much.
Yeah, not much. No, it's not pretty. But yeah, I just touch on Ron Rivera having a healthy year in terms of his cancer, and that's going to help the team in football sense.
Apparently he's in remission, which awesome for you, Ron Rivera.
Absolutely. And then if we get a pandemic free, or at least more free of the pandemic, vaccinations, etc., in the Washington.
Guess who's completely vaccinated?
You, sir. Yeah, that's awesome.
This guy right here.
So, what was I saying? So, a complete offseason is all I'm getting at for the Washington football team. And they get in a reasonable signal caller. I think Gibson and that defense and McLaurin and a vet or a rookie can come in and stabilize the position at quarterback. And these guys really take off on offense. I think that's a testament to Gibson and McLaurin. I think, and really that defense. I think they've got potential, but I can't predict the future at quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, me neither. Let's move on to number 23 here. Number 23 is DJ Moore, and we're going to lump him in with number 24.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what you're doing there. This is why friends don't let friends let their friend drive the slideshow.
Hey, see it? I clicked it and it went down to him. There he is, guys.
So number 23 is DJ Moore, and number 24, our last quarterback, is Robbie Anderson. And Chris, do you happen to know who the number 25 wide receiver on the year is?
25 wide receiver on the year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. Sandwich? Not a Washington receiver. I don't know. Give me Michael Gallup.
It is Curtis Samuel.
Ah, darn it. 3 Panthers in a row. Why didn't I guess that? I did see some statistical.
It's a Terry McLaurin sandwich. It's a sandwich with a slice of Pittsburgh Steelers bread and a slice of Carolina Panthers bread. It's never like when everyone. I don't understand why people are like when you're sandwiched in and they think that like the sandwich is the bread. Like you never say like, oh, I'm having a white bread I'm having a white bread sandwich.
No, it's just that.
You never call your sandwich by the kind of bread you have. Like no. I'm having a Reuben sandwich. Yeah, that's great. Everyone knows that's rye bread. Like
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so DJ Moore, 66 receptions. That is.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
you talk about DJ Moore. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna make sure that's right.
I'm actually looking something up myself, but what the point I was going to make with it is the catch rate of DJ Moore is ridiculous. But then you look at Curtis Samuel. Here it is, 79.4. That's 22nd in the league, Curtis Samuel. However, DJ Moore, so what, he's really high in targets, right? DJ Moore is, where are you, sir?
About
118, 55.9% catch rate for Mr. DJ Moore. 55.9%. Again,
low.
Big plays, but risky chances taken, down the field.
I kind of want to see where their yards at the catch are.
I think we can find it, but I do not have it on hand by any means. But let me go on and touch on that a little bit more real quick. Anderson not only led the duo, I said duo because I left out Samuel, duo in targets.
I didn't tell you on purpose.
I know. I'm glad you pulled that off. That was clever because I did see him come up in those statistics. Anyway, Anderson not only led the duo in targets, he was infinitely more efficient with 136 targets and a 69.9% nice catch rate to Moore's 118 targets and, as I said, 55.9% not so nice catch rate. Yet only 3 touchdowns for Anderson. Just
No. Sorry, I'm trying to look at yards at the catch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to 3 touchdowns for Anderson. The point I'm making while you're finishing that up is that I think this is a product of Teddy Bridgewater. I know I'm the one who just called him serviceable, but I'm also talking about Washington's quarterback situation. It's pretty bad. Yeah, he's serviceable. So these percentages, though, are, I don't want to say anomalies because I think DJ Moore is a bit of a big play guy and a little hit or miss, but I'd love to see some consistency there in terms of completion percentage for the quarterback, catch rate for the receivers. But Anderson was pretty consistent for a guy we thought was the inconsistent guy. However, those 3 touchdowns really hurt, and that's a product of a bad offense and a bad football team in the Carolina Panthers. But they'll be picking high, I believe. I can't tell you where. Probably top 4.
Oh, I don't think so.
Will they win 4 games? I thought they only won like 4 games. Anyway. Moore was 11th in yards for all receivers in the NFL. 11th in yards, 3rd in yards per reception. That's how good DJ Moore was in that category. First among receivers. Oh, he's first among receivers with 100 targets or more in yards per reception. He's 3rd if you count some guys that had like 60 catches, 80 catches, something like that. I think one of them.
Panthers are picking 8th.
Okay, so I was a little off.
And whatever.
You could still get a QB there. I don't have the names ready here. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence will be on.
You know what? I hate postulating on what quarterback's going to go where.
This isn't the draft show either. So, and we're a fantasy show, not an NFL draft show, but we will be doing some draft coverage, folks, for sure.
Yeah. At the day of the round 1, the first draft, or the first round of the draft. I don't know. I kind of hope that the Washington football team, or the Potato Skins as we've been calling them, don't take Justin Fields just after that sour taste of taking Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State.
Wow, Bust is putting it lightly, like just I don't know, off the field stuff or personality or.
Was this only his 2nd season?
Yeah,
Haskins,
it was a quick exit, man. And I mean, we could see the signs. I'm not saying they're not just in what they did. It looks like he was just not a good team guy or troublemaker. Well, I don't know the term to put on him. I don't know the guy.
Well, like what the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen, and at some point, if it's very clear that you don't have your guy, why keep him?
I think it was apparent. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but still, it was eye-opening.
And he's like, he's like, that's not my guy.
That's fair too. Yeah.
And I think that Dwayne Haskins was just kind of like, and I'm completely speculating here. Completely. He was just maybe taking his natural talent for granted, and not actually taking the time and putting time in reps in practice or whatever. I have no idea.
Could be because he was a thrower. He was an arm talent kind of guy.
He was a cancerous entity in the locker room. I have no idea.
Could be.
But yeah, that they were just looking for a reason to get rid of him, and that
he also kind of threw with a YOLO attitude, like a kind of a Jameson Jr. What's his name?
Jameson. He was like Word.
I can't think of the guys. Thank you, Jameis Winston. I called him Jameson like a whiskey. A little Jameis Winston Jr. Yeah, he threw with the.
I would just having myself a couple of fingers of the old Jameson Winston.
Jameson Winston
goes down smooth.
Aged for your pleasure.
And a nice
I could see Sam Neill doing that commercial. I just messed his name up again. Who's the guy from Tombstone?
Sam Elliott.
Elliott. I don't know why. I'm so sorry.
Sam Elliott wasn't in Event Horizon. Sam Neill was. Sam Elliott was in Jurassic Park. Sam Neill was.
Isn't Sam Neill British?
Probably.
I think he is. Anyway.
Sam Neill wasn't in Roadhouse. Sam Elliott was.
I think Neil is just like a tougher sounding name than Elliott. I don't know. No offense to any Elliots out there. Anyway, I don't know why I make that mental mistake every time.
Okay, we can tell we've been recording for a while.
Onward, yeah, right? Yeah.
Completely off script.
Yep.
That or that glass of wine is just kind of hitting me. It was really delicious too. Oh man.
Good. I love wine.
I'm not big into wine, but yeah, that was some good wine. I can't wait to have
but
more of
we
it.
should do some housekeeping and not go down a wine rabbit hole, because we did just finish up our top 24 receivers.
Did we?
Yeah, right. Robbie Anderson.
Let's talk about Robbie Anderson here real quick.
And we also didn't do any honorable mentions.
Right. How are we doing on time?
We're going a little long.
Okay. So let's talk about Robbie Anderson real quick here.
Mm-hmm.
He came out of the gate really quick, really strong with like a 20+ point week 1. He was a lot more of a possession receiver than any of us really thought he was going to.
Yeah, with that catch rate.
He ended up at wide receiver 24. So like
that's respectable.
I feel like a lot of people are going to really remember that first game and forget about the middle and end of the season. That he wasn't really.
You think they're going to be higher on him? See, I think the opposite. I think they'll see the 3 touchdowns and the quarterback and just kind of be like, "Yeah, I'm not really in love with them." But hey, we'll both admit it could go either way for sure.
Honorable mentions, some guys that maybe you can make this list that didn't.
I got a good one, but I bet you might have him actually. He's kind of your guy, so I'll let you go first.
I was going to say Kenny Golladay. That was
is that the low hanging fruit? But we don't know his destination either. So
I could see if Daniel Jones gets his act together, Darius Slayton could end up making it next year. Maybe a Raiders wide receiver.
Who's the young one? Raiders. Michael Thomas. Thomas. He's the low hanging fruit. Yeah, because he missed so much time.
Yeah, exactly.
So did Golladay. Don't get me wrong, but at least with Golladay, you have the question mark of the destination. So you could be like, he's more of a question mark. But I think if Golladay finds a reasonable destination, he's right back up there. And obviously, Michael Thomas. I feel like
there's a few of them out there.
You have to worry now. Michael Thomas, you could throw the question mark of quarterback.
Exactly.
I
don't think Drew Brees is coming. I really don't think Brees is coming back.
I would tend to agree with you. I think he tried 3 times in a row to win a Super Bowl before retiring.
I would hope that the Saints don't want him to come back either, because
I think they showed them he's ready. They're ready to move forward by their personnel moves.
There's another quarterback that's actually technically not under contract this coming off season is Jameis Winston. Technically not under, and I don't think Taysom Hill is either.
That could go back to those couple of times in the past couple of shows where we hesitated to name a guy. Yeah, interceptions, sure. Maybe he learned a lot under Sean Payton for a year.
I don't know about
that. So somebody might take a chance on him and turn around like an Allen Robinson or a Kenny Golladay or somebody that ends up somewhere too. Maybe they get in cahoots together and they're like, you know what? We may not win a ton of games, but we will score a butt ton of points.
Or at least our stat line at the end of the day will look kind of sexy.
Yeah, and then maybe we can turn around the defense, and in 2 years, maybe we're competing. But I'm not saying I'm Mr. Believe in Jameis Winston. I'm just saying there's a team out there that might be desperate enough. Give him a contract for a year or two. Get a big-name wide receiver to believe enough. A big-name free agent wide receiver to believe enough, and maybe they make some chemistry there. I don't know.
Yeah. That's about all I got.
Yep, me too.
You want to take us out with a little bit of house cleaning?
Absolutely. I think we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to do a Super Bowl stream. So we'll probably start around the time of the game. We're not exactly sure if we do a little pregame. We're not exactly sure what we're doing for the halftime, but we're going to be live for Super Bowl, having a good time.
We're going to watch The Weeknd.
We're going to watch The Weeknd. I don't think we can. That's like copyrighted and stuff. So, but we can watch it with you.
We're not going to show it on the stream. We can't do that.
Josh is going to watch The Weeknd. I'm going to watch the Puppy Bowl. And we'll go from there. So we're going to have a good time for the stream, for the Super Bowl stream. I briefly touched on the fact that we're going to do a stream for the NFL draft, which I think falls on a Thursday night. So be prepared for that. More of a laid back format of the show, more of a obviously live. Other than that, I'll link below in the description our Discord, the Twitch channel that we just spoke of, and my Twitch channel where I stream for Hardware Dynasty, and I do PC flipping and building and gaming PC stuff and some gaming, and I think that's all the housekeeping. Next week's show will be tight ends. Yeah. Tight ends. I think we'll be able to burn. Go ahead.
I think we'll just kind of keep with tight ends, and we'll just maybe have a shorter show next week. Give you a little less work as far as editing, and just kind of having a nice tight end package. I didn't mean to say tight there twice, but you get what I'm saying. Tight.
Was that Goldfinger? Like a Toyga? A Goldfinger? I think that's a character. Yeah, I might be reaching there. Pretty sure it was Austin Powers show.
The James Bond villain?
Did I say Goldfinger? Goldmember. Sorry.
Goldmember was Austin Powers. Goldfinger was James Bond.
I like gold and toy like a Toyga. Anyway, sorry.
I watched part of that movie. I'm like, this is awful. Like it was just between 2 and 3.
It should have only been 2. Yeah, it should have only been 2, probably.
Well, between 2 and 3 was just enough time that I kind of like, okay, I feel like I've kind of grown out of the
Characters, the whole Austin Powers thing.
Yeah, the kind of immature, like,
raunchy humor. Yeah.
Yeah, raunchy humor. Thank you.
I like it, I guess.
But I mean, it's okay. It's okay in doses, but yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I'm kind of over Austin Powers. Like, I'll go back.
I think he needed to go away. Yeah, but he was great while he was the first two. Yeah, but yep. End of show.
And that's been Austin Powers Talk on Amazing Fantasy Football. Everyone out there, have a good day and stay safe. Wear a mask, wash your hands, all of that. And this has been Amazing Fantasy Football. You guys have a good day today. Goodbye, everyone.
Tight ends next week.